There are only two ways you can raise men in society. Now, one of them is a major contributing factor to all the challenges and issues and problems that we're seeing right now. And the other one, that one's the solution. Welcome to Warriors, Lovers, Kings, and Heroes. I'm Eric Rogel, and I appreciate you being here with us today. What I'm going to do in this video series is I'm going to be breaking down my latest book, Lions Raised as Lambs, chapter by chapter, so you can get all the wisdom, the insights, and the strategies to help you be the best man, husband, father, and leader that you can be. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the introduction to Lions Raised as Lambs. Now, there are three major concepts that I go into, all centered around the state of men and masculinity, not just today, but for centuries. And the first one of those concepts is this. This is not new, and you are not alone. See, this all comes from how I was raised. See, very quickly, my story is I was raised to be soft, to be quiet, to be gentle, to not stand out or make waves. I was raised to be afraid of everything. I was raised to be cautious, not bold. Now, this felt wrong, and it caused me a lot of pain, especially in my teen years. And I thought I was alone. But I found out that there are thousands and thousands of men like me, and you might be one of them. We're men that were raised to be soft and quiet, to deny that beast that's inside us, deny our masculinity, which is the very thing that defines us as men. We are lions who have been raised as lambs. So know that you're not alone. There are millions of men who feel this way. I call them the silent sufferers, feeling that they are the only one and afraid to confide in someone because they don't want to look weak or broken. And there's a reason for this. Society wants you to feel this way. Society wants you to be quiet and soft. It's in the best interest of society that you are not a bold man. In fact, I opened the book with a quote from philosopher and essayist Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he said, "Societies everywhere are in conspiracy against the manhood of every one of its members." Now, he said this in 1841, over 180 years ago. So this is nothing new. Now, why did he say this? Because there is nothing more dangerous to society and governments than a strong, independent man who cannot be controlled. And that should be your first clue. If society is afraid of it, then it's something you should go full bore right into. So what they do is control us by shaming us into repressing this warrior part of ourselves. They want us to deny our beast. They want us to become polite. They want us well-mannered and refined. They want us to become gentle men. And it's natural for us as men to resist this, for it to feel wrong. And this is why so many men are spiraling right now. Because society constantly questioning the very nature, the very value, and even the very necessity of masculinity itself, the singular thing that defines us as men. Many of us feel wrong and untethered, lost and alone. Now, some men keep these feelings locked inside, suffering in silence, while keeping that stoic public face they believe society demands of them. They don't want to tell other men how they feel. They don't want to ask for guidance during challenging times because they don't want to look weak or inadequate. Now, others, unable to keep those feelings suppressed any longer, will lash out in violent rage. And what this does is it only serves to feed the false belief that masculinity is toxic. I hate hearing that masculinity is toxic. What this does is it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy because society wants men to push that beast down inside and be something that we're not, something we're naturally not capable of doing. And all of these emotions are bottled up inside until we actually explode. And then society can point and go, "See, I told you, masculinity is toxic." And so the cycle begins again over and over, and this happens generation after generation. And it leaves devastation of the male psyche in its wake. Fortunately, there is a way out. There is a solution to this, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. First, I want to get to the second concept that I talk about in the intro, and that is that we are becoming overly civilized. And this has been happening for centuries. In fact, in the intro, I have another Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, and it says, "The end of the human race will be that it will eventually die of civilization." What he's saying is we'll become so soft we won't be able to take care of ourselves. And this is why the title of the essay this quote is taken from is his famous essay, Self-Reliance. Now, Emerson wrote this because he was a student of history. He saw how the Roman Empire, the Mongol Empire, even the British Empire, and all the other once great empires became overly civilized, lost their warrior nature, caged that beast inside, and they ultimately fell. And Emerson saw this fall of another great empire happening with us. He was cautioning that we were becoming dangerously over-civilized. But what exactly does that mean? The definition of civilize is to remove the savage state. Therefore, civilization demands that we repress this warrior part of ourselves. We deny our beast, that we become polite, well-mannered, and refined, that we become gentle men. Now, this goes against our nature. It intuitively feels wrong to us. And it forces us to push back against this pressure, this demand to be civilized in modern society. Emerson was urging us to all be fiercely strong, independent, capable, and self-reliant. He knew that relying on anyone else, especially society or the government, would make us compliant and dependent. All the fight would be bred out of us. And in that case, society can control us because there are no more warriors left to fight. So how do you do that? How do you achieve this? Well, that's the third concept that I go over in the introduction. And that is, there are only two ways that you can raise a man in society. One is the cause of the problem. The other is the solution. The first way, as I mentioned earlier, I believe is the cause of a lot of the problems and issues and challenges that men are seeing today and that we're seeing in society as a whole. And I feel this is because of the way that we were raised, the way a lot of men were raised. And that is in a culture of fear. Fear of our own masculinity, fear of our beast, of our warrior. Fear that if we express this natural side of us, we're going against civilization. We're going against society. So it's a fear that we have to conform. Now, in modern metropolitan society, because of its put the collective over the individual tendency, has lost its understanding for the necessity for the individuation process of the masculine psyche, and has a generally destructive view of that. So this leads us to fear being an individual, fear straying too far from the flock. It makes us afraid of speaking out. It makes us afraid of standing out. Fear of being bold, of making waves. Fear of living as a maverick, independent man. And instead, we're raised to play small, stay safe, fit in. See, if you want to civilize a lion, you condition it to know that being a lion is bad or dangerous or scary. You convince it that others are afraid of it. So it must behave as a lamb, a good little lamb with no claws, no sharp teeth, no aggression. A safe little lamb that goes along with the rest of the flock. Now, for me, this is exactly how I was raised. I was raised by a single mom right outside a major metropolitan area of New York City. And my mom raised me to believe that everything was either going to kill me, hurt me, make me sick. That people were always going to come after me. So I should stay small. I shouldn't speak out. I shouldn't say things that might offend other people. And this never felt right to me, ever. It always made me feel a little off, like I was pretending to be something I was not. But it made mom happy, so I went ahead and did it. This went along until I hit my teen years. Now, all of a sudden, I'm a foot taller than mom, and I discovered weightlifting. And she actually became afraid of my masculinity, of who I was becoming as a young man. So it was to be even quieter, stay even smaller. Don't upset the apple cart. Don't be bold. Don't stand out. Don't make waves. She felt all of this was going to hurt me, or even worse, I might hurt somebody else. And this was bad. So I let her, and I let society as a whole, emasculate me out of fear. I denied my lion and embraced my lamb. Well, that's not entirely true. I didn't fully embrace my lamb because there was always this little thing gnawing away at the inside of me, telling me this wasn't what I was supposed to be. This wasn't who I was supposed to be. Something told me I wasn't a lamb. I was something much more. My beast was calling to me. It was begging for me to let it out. Now, in my heart, this felt right. But in my head, where I had been conditioned to believe that this was bad and dangerous, it felt wrong. And there was a struggle going on. And it was a struggle that went on for years. And much of the media that I was consuming at that time, that was contributing to this conflict and this struggle. It's what I call pop culture conditioning. Now, this is social conditioning via popular culture, movies, TVs, books, even commercials. And the ones that I was watching at the time were portraying men and fathers as hapless buffoons that we were going to laugh at. Men that had to be rescued by their wives and children because they were so incapable of taking care of themselves. So they were showing these men to either be complete incompetence, weak, fearful, showing men to either be complete incompetence, weak and afraid, or violent, misogynistic assholes. And they were, and they still are, a punchline. Now, these are the men that I had as role models growing up. They felt inadequate, powerless. They made me feel like my masculinity was somehow wrong, that it was something that should be ridiculed. And it confused me. It made me feel shame. And man, it pissed me off. So a culture of fear is the reason why family dynamics and relationships are unstable. It's why our women are frustrated with us for not stepping up and leading, with many women complaining that they are dating or married to a man-child. It's the reason why local and world leaders are weak and ineffective. And it's why confusion, anger, and repressed rage and violence have skyrocketed, becoming fodder for the national news media. This culture of fear is destroying us. Now, fortunately, the other way to raise men holds the answer and the solution to all of this. It is a solution that will become your roadmap, your guidebook to becoming a strong, capable, confident, self-reliant man, an independent man. It's the way that was used in ancient Greece, in the Roman Empire. It was used in Viking clans, in Native American tribes, and tribes all across Africa. This is where boys were raised by elder men to be warriors. They were mentored to be bold, to be fearless, to be adventurous, to seek out and take on challenges and conquer them. And it wasn't until I sought out the guidance of good men and good mentors that I discovered that my masculinity, that our masculinity, is not wrong or toxic. It is a dynamic, beautiful, natural part of who we are. It's a part of us that we can learn to command and direct with purpose. And the only way that we can learn to be strong masculine men is from the guidance of strong masculine men who are ahead of us on the path. It is this guidance that allows us to live as the king and hero of our own story. It is this guidance that is the solution to all the problems that we're seeing today, because these men who are willing to guide other men were not raised in a culture of fear. They were raised in a culture of courage. My mentor and my co-author of the book, Rob, was raised the complete opposite of the way that I was raised. He was raised on a cattle ranch by cowboys and cattlemen, men who were like John Wayne, men of the earth, men who lived in nature. These were men who did million-dollar deals on handshakes because their word was their bond, and it was more binding than any contract. They were men of honor and integrity that you could trust. Now, these are the type of strong, independent, capable, and confident men I wanted to be. Men of courage, honesty, and integrity. Men of boldness, of honor, and of heart. Now, Rob had all these things that I was craving since I was young. Now, he had them in abundance because he grew up the way most men didn't. He grew up surrounded by strong, confident, masculine role models. He was surrounded by good men who worked the earth and were one with nature. They were men who built things with their hands, men who volunteered to fight in war to protect our freedom. They were men who believed in teaching and upholding good core values, enforcement of laws, and an emphasis on disciplining and developing the strengths and the qualities of the individual. These guys taught him that he could do anything, like drive heavy machinery at the age of 12, or jump into a pen full of wild hogs, or rope calves. They taught him he could do anything. They taught him how to love the beast that was inside of him, how to be proud of it, and most importantly, how to command it. See, now Joseph Campbell, the mythology professor who mapped out the hero's journey, one of the most important parts of any hero's journey is the mentor, the guide, the wise wizard, the sage, the one who helps you along on your journey. Having this mentor, this guide, has been the case from ancient mythology to legends and stories that have been told for centuries, all the way up to now where we've got modern science fiction and fantasy movies that have entertained millions. From the gods helping Perseus and Hercules, to Obi-Wan and Yoda guiding young Luke Skywalker, to Morpheus showing Neo he was the one. This is how we learn as men, by guiding each other, by diving in and earning the battle scars and sharing that wisdom, by being the example. This is ancient, proven, and timeless. This is brotherhood. And now it's time to get back to this brotherhood. It's time we brought the culture of courage back. And I encourage you to be a part of it. That's it for today, guys. If you've watched this far, I appreciate your attention. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on X and on Instagram at Eric Rogel. And also head over to lionsraisedaslambs.com/preview, and you can actually get a downloadable copy of the intro that we just went over to Lions Raised as Lambs, along with a couple of bonus chapters in there. And make sure to check out the links I've got in the description below for some other great stuff that I think you might really enjoy. So that's it. We'll see you in the next one, and never stop roaring.